My husband was cheating on me, so I caught evidence with a hidden camera.
Really? So, now you guys will divorce?
I stood there blankly staring at the two of them, confused by their cryptic statements.
It's too bad. Once I knew you were cheating, I set up surveillance cameras in our house.
You're really done now.
On that day, Alicia and Amy reached out to all our relatives, invited a large crowd, and booked a party hall.
Look here, everyone.
With Amy's announcement, a screen was swiftly set up, and the footage from the hidden camera began to play. But the next moment, all the relatives' expressions stiffened, and everyone turned to Amy.
What?
Oh, so that's what happened. Seeing the footage, I realized what it really was. I'm Travis Brown, a 52-year-old man who's done raising my daughter. However, in today's society, it is not easy to retire at this age. I work every day as part of a company, looking forward to my nightly drinks. My main concerns are the train I have to take to the office, which is getting tougher and tougher every year. And another one is my family. That's right. I'm currently struggling with my relationship with my wife, Alicia, and daughter, Amy. 8 years ago, when Amy went off to college, conversations between Alicia and me drastically reduced. It had been happening before then, but we clearly stopped seeing each other around that time. Back then, I accepted it as inevitable. It's been nearly 20 years since we got married, and the center of all our conversations has always been Amy. When Amy moved out, I thought it was only natural that conversations between Alicia and me would stop. But Alicia's reckless behavior didn't end there. Day by day, she stopped coming home. Alicia, why didn't you come back yesterday? I was worried because I didn't hear from you.
It's fine, isn't it? I'm not a child. It's my right to do what I want, wherever I want.
Since our marriage, Alicia had been a stay-at-home mom. When we were newlyweds, she always greeted me with a warm meal and a smile. Of course, I didn't force her to do that. She said she was good at housework and took it up as a hobby. Even when our conversation stopped, meals became leftovers, and her smile was replaced by notes. I believed Alicia's feelings hadn't changed. Back then, I truly believed that. That's why I earnestly asked Alicia out of genuine concern. But somehow, Alicia's feelings seemed to have changed. Yeah, that's true. But this has been going on for a while now. There's no sign that you've eaten at home lately. Where are you always going?
Are you trying to keep tabs on me? Do you think that because I'm a stay-at-home mom, I should always be at home to welcome you with a warm meal? Or is it that since it's your money, I shouldn't waste any of it? What nonsense! What century are you living in?
Alicia spat out her words, giving me an ice-cold stare. That was a look of disdain on me. Not something a husband worried about his wife should receive. Although I was shocked, I tried to dismiss it, thinking Alicia was just in a foul mood. My tone may have come off a bit harsh. I'm not saying that. I'm just worried because you disappear without letting me know. If I went on a business trip without telling you, wouldn't you wonder what's going on?
I don't think so. Maybe I'd suspect you of cheating. Whatever. I have plans today. I won't be coming back tonight, so keep that in mind.
Hey, wait a second. But Alicia shoved past me and left the house, trampling on my feelings. From that day forward, our conversations nearly vanished. Since I worked from morning till night on weekdays and spent weekends sleeping to recover? If Alicia deliberately avoided me, we'd hardly ever see each other, even living under the same roof. Before we realized it, our relationship had deteriorated into living separately within the same household. It was around that time, I think, Alicia's spending became outrageous. You spent $1,000 this month and $2,000 last month. You're seriously spending way too much. In our household, Alicia managed all our finances. I got a monthly allowance from her and would receive extra if needed. That was common among other families around us, and I'd never questioned it. But when I happened to check my bank account after a long time, my eyes nearly popped out. The recent withdrawal history was insane. Large sums were being withdrawn almost weekly. Naturally, I confronted Alicia about it. What's going on here? What did you spend $2,000 on?
Well, so you noticed it now. How annoying. What does it matter?
Of course it matters. This is our money.
There you go again. Because I'm a housewife, I can't spend freely. You're just my ATM. So shut up and give me the money.
Alicia responded to my question with a look of extreme annoyance. But I couldn't let her off the hook just yet. Even though her monthly expenses hadn't exceeded my salary yet, we couldn't save enough at this rate. Without savings, our future lifestyle would suffer. Looking ahead to retirement, you can't save too much. Did you say shut up? How dare you?
Do you think women listen when you raise your voice? You're so outdated. Don't worry. I'm cutting back on groceries and living expenses.
That's not the point. Hey, we're not done talking.
I've got a meeting now. Even housewives need to get out of the house sometimes. See you.
No matter how much I pleaded, Alicia remained unmoved. She made excuses like this to escape my pursuit. More than once or twice I almost smacked her as she left the house. What held me back was nothing but the bond we built over more than 20 years together. I tried several times to suggest Alicia change how we manage our accounts. But she clearly wanted to keep using the money however she pleased. Every time, she'd refuse with a fierce expression.
You managing the accounts? No way. You just want to control me financially.
No, listen calmly. You're acting irrationally. Why not take a break from handling the money?
You just want to lock me up in this house. Unbelievable. You're the worst.
When she'd get hysterical like that, there was nothing I could do. Sadly, our daughter followed her mother's lead. Even when Amy went off to college, she sided with Alicia and started hating me too. Not that we had many conversations anyway, especially since she became a high schooler. I think Amy moving out for college was partly due to dealing with her difficult temperament.
Hey, you. Why are you here?
What do you mean here? I'm just relaxing in the living room of my own house.
You're in the way.
Whenever Amy comes back home, she starts off with such harsh words directed at me. Her eyes, with that upward slant, were very much like Alicia's, as you'd expect from mother and daughter. They shared that same look of disdain. Holding back a sigh, I tried to converse with Amy.
It's not relaxing at all, even though I came back home.
Well, what can I say? I'm working during the day, and I'm tired too.
Just don't talk. You smell like an old man.
However, despite how much Amy seemed to despise me, she never stopped coming back to the family home. There was just one reason for it.
Mom, can I have some pocket money?
Come on, again. You need to save money more.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just had so many trips this month.
She came back just to get more money. And not from me, but from Alicia. Sometimes she'd leave with a pile of cash without even saying a word to me. Alicia, who was always lenient with Amy, would ignore my opinion and give her hundreds of dollars from the family's account.
You can be so helpless sometimes. Sure, he makes decent money, but he's not a billionaire.
Then make him work more. I know that if you do tons of overtime, you make more money. So just keep him locked up in the office.
That might be a good idea. Coming home is just a hassle anyway. Getting him to work more overtime could work.
Yeah. We get the house to ourselves, and the money keeps coming in. It's a win-win.
Overhearing them say stuff like that always made me feel out of place. Now Amy's 26. She got married a few years ago and has her own family. Last year, my granddaughter, Nina, was born, making me a grandpa. Still, Amy's new home isn't far from ours. Unfortunately, her habit of asking for money hasn't gone away. It's gotten worse.
Hey, we're planning a trip for the three of us, so give us some money.
A trip? Can't you pay for that yourself? Aren't you working, right?
What are you even saying? Your darling daughter wants to take your precious granddaughter out, and you won't even give us a little cash.
Unlike Alicia, Amy works full-time. She's in general administration at a small company, but it's still an admirable job. Her income should be stable. Yet, she always comes to me for money. I didn't mean it like that.
Sorry as always, Travis.
It's fine, Robert. This man's only value is giving us money.
My son-in-law, Robert Evers, never corrects Amy, but just gives me that same smile. He works as a contractor, moving from company to company, so his income isn't stable. That's partly why Amy keeps coming back to me for money. But what she uses it for is the issue. If she needed it for something essential like food, I'd be more than willing to help.
Just go and get your money.
Sigh. I felt the weight of my failure in parenting bearing down on me. Where did things go wrong with my daughter? Maybe if I had been more stern with her back in college, things might have turned out differently. But then again, perhaps it was already too late by then. Alicia used my money without permission while living separately, and Amy begged for cash like a debt collector. I found it unbearable to be in this family with the two of them. I felt like I was losing my sense of purpose. And ironically, just as Amy had said one day, I started working overtime more often. I just didn't want to be home. I was working late that day because I didn't want to go home. Because Amy and Robert were visiting my house. As I got closer to my house, my steps became heavier. However, the first thing I heard when I finally got home was Alicia's shrill voice, making me want to cover my ears.
What were you doing out so late? Are you cheating on me? Unbelievable. I'm filing for divorce right away.
What's gotten into you all of a sudden? I was obviously working overtime.
No, that can't be it. 9 times out of 10, if a husband comes home late, he's cheating. Just wait, I'll catch you in the act.
Yeah, sure. She greeted me at the door, inexplicably furious. For some reason, she had concluded that I was cheating. But arguing further seemed too tiresome, and I quickly gave up. Since I wasn't actually cheating, no investigation would turn up any evidence, If an investigation would satisfy her, then she might as well go ahead. It would be more efficient. Anyway, the money for this investigation will probably come out of my paycheck.
You even cheated. You're the worst.
I didn't.
You can say anything you want. Just admit it quickly and pay my mom the alimony she deserves.
When I walked into the living room, I was greeted by Amy, who looked at me with utter contempt. It seems Alicia must have fed her some kind of story. Even though it left me feeling awful, I was too exhausted from overtime to muster any energy. I fled to the bathroom, then hid in my room. What a miserable household.
My husband was cheating on me, so I got evidence with a hidden camera.
Really? So, now you guys will divorce.
What? A few days later, they smugly declared this with a camera in hand. I stared at their faces, bewildered by the nonsensical statements.
You didn't notice, did you? Too bad. After I found out you were cheating, I set up surveillance cameras in the house. We've got clear proof right here, so you better brace yourself.
You're really done for now. Hey, Mom, let's call up the whole family and make a public example out of him, shall we?
Great idea. Let's invite Robert. Unlike this guy, he's our family.
True that.
Ignoring me, they gleefully plotted their next steps. I knew I was innocent, so I didn't care what happened. But I was curious about the supposed evidence Alicia claimed to have. So, what exactly did you capture there?
Are you curious? But I won't show you. If I did, you might tamper with it or something.
Not that you could pull off anything fancy, but we'll be extra careful.
In the end, I couldn't see the footage until the day of. On that day, Alicia and Amy reached out to all our relatives, invited a large crowd, and booked a party hall. The event was supposed to celebrate the first birthday of Amy's daughter, Nina. They invited all the relatives to her first birthday and to introduce Nina to everyone. The gathered relatives, particularly the women, were captivated by Nina.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have something to show you.
As the event progressed and most people had finished eating, Alicia's voice rang out, as if announcing the main act. She even made use of the conveniently placed microphone.
Please take a look at this.
With Amy's announcement, a large screen descended onto the stage. The lights dimmed, and the rumored footage from the camera played. The video showed a dark room. The relatives watched breathlessly, wondering what was about to unfold.
The video's a bit hard to make out because it's dark, but this is proof of my husband's cheating.
This man had the nerve to bring a woman into our home and commit adultery. This footage is the proof my mom courageously collected.
I really wanted to trust my husband, but this is undeniable evidence. However, I didn't have the courage to verify it alone. So, I thought I'd take this opportunity to watch it with everyone here.
Alicia covered her eyes and pretended to cry, drawing the sympathy of the entire family. But in the next moment, everyone's expression hardened. The reason was clear. And after a brief pause, all eyes turned toward Amy.
What?
Oh, I see. What happened now? After seeing the footage, I understood the truth behind it. The initial part of the video, which narrated the affair in the dark, was fast-forwarded by Alicia's unbearable act. So there was no audio, and in the darkness, only shadows could be seen moving around. But at one point, the scene lit up. It seemed that someone had opened the curtains. And in the light, the unfaithful person revealed was not me, but Robert, Amy's husband.
What is this? Hey, Robert, what the hell is going on?
Wait, wasn't this supposed to be footage of Travis's affair?
It should have been, but this is footage of our guest room. What are you doing there, Robert?
In disbelief, Amy grabbed Robert. He tried to explain himself nervously, while Alicia watched them both, completely bewildered.
Our guest room? No way.
Hearing Alicia's words, Robert's face turned pale. I could barely contain my laughter as I muttered under my breath. Looks like Robert has an idea about this.
You knew something, didn't you? Were you trying to frame us from the start?
Amy caught on to that and shifted all her anger from Robert to me in an instant. She wanted me to be the villain no matter what. No matter how much I tried, I wouldn't be able to fulfill that expectation. Of course not. You guys put together that footage, didn't you? I was just curious to see what kind of video it was since I knew I hadn't cheated.
Such a lie. Do you really think you can corner us with an obvious story like that? You're naive.
I didn't mean to, really. But to be honest, I was somewhat aware of Robert's affair.
What?
Amy was frozen by those words. Her stare pierced right through me, as if demanding to know how I knew and why I didn't say anything. Her eyes almost seemed to scream resentment. It's up to me what I do with the info I find out, right? Besides, I wasn't sure about it. It was just a hunch. But didn't you suspect something yourself?
Well, maybe. A little.
No way.
Next to panic was Robert. As he raised his voice in disbelief, Amy responded with defiance.
Yeah, that's right. Seriously, if you're going to cheat, do it without people finding out. It's not easy pretending not to notice or acting like it doesn't bother me.
What?
Well, now that it's out in the open, there's nothing I can do. Robert, sorry to say this, but this is goodbye for us. You better pay your alimony and child support.
Amy realized she couldn't shake my composure no matter how much she tried to corner me. So, she took her frustration out on Robert. But Robert immediately dropped his usual grin, his eyebrows furrowing sharply.
Don't mess with me.
What did you just say?
Then, with a furious expression, he glared at Amy. He rummaged through his bag, muttering as he did,
I know you've been cheating on me.
What?
Take a look at this.
Robert pulled out 2 envelopes, one from a detective agency, and another with DNA test results. He'd been carrying them around because he was paranoid that if he left them at home, someone might find them. With a rough motion, he dumped the contents of the envelopes onto the table and continued, visibly excited.
These are the pieces of evidence I've collected over almost a year. And this one shows the DNA test results between me and Nina. By the way, it clearly states that we're not related.
When did you do? How long have you been suspicious of me?
The whole time. So far I've forgiven you because you've relied on Travis and Alicia and you've been my ATMs. But if you want to go to war, I'm ready for it.
The two were so caught up in exposing each other's affairs that they paid no attention to the relatives gathered around them. Their ugliness was unbearable to witness. The worst part was that there were small children among the relatives present. Realizing that things were only going to get uglier, I quietly spoke to the relatives and ensured that the children and younger women left the room. I couldn't let these young people with promising futures witness such a terrible scene. All that remained were people of our generation, and some younger husbands. Among them were a few women who stayed out of curiosity, but watched Amy and Robert's ugly argument with strong contempt. As all eyes were on them, the couple's heated argument escalated.
An ATM? What on earth does that mean? I'm not just some cash cow. How dare you speak so rudely to your beautiful, generous wife?
You say you're generous. What a joke. You're just a pretty face with a terrible personality.
What did you say? You're not even handsome. So what's the big deal?
But even now, with Amy holding Nina tightly, she couldn't help but witness this scene. The yelling had left her looking worried, and I wondered how I could help her. These two were so wrapped up in their own issues that they couldn't even care for their only daughter. They were clearly unfit to be parents.
You don't want to leave me because you like my not-so-handsome features, right?
No way. What nonsense are you spouting now? A useless man who can turn well and makes far less than I do.
You're really getting on my nerves. If that's how you feel, let's split up. But I'm going to squeeze every last penny out of you.
The two seemed on the verge of coming to blows. Seeing this, Nina's face contorted with distress. Realizing she'd reached her breaking point, I stepped in between them. That's enough. How long are you going to keep subjecting our relatives to this ugly bickering? Have some shame.
You were the one who started this.
What did I do? When I glared at her more sternly, Amy faltered for a moment. I had never believed in raising my voice to discipline, and had rarely been harsh with Amy before. But I'm still her father. I knew I could handle this. I crouched down in front of Nina, trying to keep my expression as gentle as possible. Nina, are you okay? Good girl. Lily's in the next room, so why don't you wait there? Your mom and dad need to talk for a bit. Though Amy hesitated briefly, she quickly turned defensive again. It was impossible to tell when round two might start. It would be too cruel to keep Nina in this kind of situation for any longer. With Amy's attention on me, I quickly assured Nina to safety. Lily is my sister's daughter, and Nina often spends time with her. I delivered Nina to the next room, where she nodded nervously but firmly. Then I turned back to Amy, who was still trying to argue. I was just maintaining the household even though you called me an ATM. Is there anything wrong with that?
How arrogant. You're the one who acted suspiciously in the first place. You made my mom anxious. You're just the worst.
I made her feel anxious? At Amy's words, I glanced at Alicia. She flinched, and I let out an exaggerated sigh.
What's that supposed to mean?
People who are cheating tend to suspect their spouse of cheating, just like Amy and Robert. I deliberately addressed Alicia. Alicia looked at me as if dreading what I would do next. Looks like you were playing the same game. Then, I spread the evidence I had prepared in advance across the table. When Alicia glanced at the photos, her face quickly paled. The evidence on the desk was almost identical to what Robert had spilled earlier. They are pictures, documents, and receipts of sorts. Of course, the person in question was not Amy.
Mom, what is this?
Where on earth did you get this stuff?
I hired a professional, of course. You've been acting suspicious for a while. All of the evidence pointed to Alicia. It showed her spending time with unknown men. I stared at her as coldly as possible. Strictly speaking, it wasn't an affair. Her relationships with these young guys seemed to be purely transactional. But that was a minor detail.
That's not true. I was just out with some friends for dinner. How dare you accuse me of cheating like this? You're too controlling.
Friends, right. Even with these much younger guys. I overheard some of your conversations. It didn't sound like a friendly relationship to me.
Friendships come in many forms. Age has nothing to do with it.
Faced with the evidence right in front of her, Alicia began making ugly excuses. I could have considered being a bit lenient if she just confessed, but she didn't. So I pulled out more conclusive photos. Maybe so. But do friends these days really go to hotels alone together? Leaning on each other like this?
I just felt a little unwell, and the hotel happened to be nearby.
Classic excuse. You might already know, but it's not just this guy. There are multiple people you've been involved with. Since Amy was also my daughter, I thought it would be best to preserve a little of Alicia's dignity. But since she kept denying everything, I had no choice. I laid out all the remaining evidence on the desk. Photos of Alicia entering and leaving hotels with different men on multiple days, and documents detailing the identities of her companions. Every person here has had a direct relationship with Alicia at least once. The sheer number made me dizzy the first time I saw them. This one's 25, the other one's 27, and this boy's just 20. Seriously? Do you even realize your age?
It's none of your business, trying to drag these young, unrelated boys into this mess. You really have some nerve.
Unrelated. For your information, I'll be demanding compensation from each and every one of them.
No, you can't. If you do that, these boys will.
The moment I mentioned compensation, Alicia started screaming. But her words were nothing more than nonsense that left me unfazed. I sighed and brought her back to reality. Besides, I'm not asking for a massive amount from just one person. I'm spreading it across multiple people, which is already a concession on my part. These guys are practically criminals. They knew what they were getting into. The worst that'll happen is they'll cut ties with you.
No, anything but that.
First off, I'm divorcing you. Don't think you'll have the same lifestyle as when you were living off my money without working.
You can't be serious.
Her reaction surprised me a little. Was she really not planning to divorce me, even after doing all this? She went to all that trouble to frame me for cheating. So, what? Was she planning to control me with guilt afterward and keep using me as an ATM? The more I thought about Alicia's twisted reasoning, the more my head hurt. I'm not joking, and I'm not kidding. This is the natural result. Take responsibility for your own actions.
Wait, it was just a whim. You were so busy with your work that I just felt lonely and looked for comfort.
So you're asking me to forgive you? Isn't that a bit too convenient? Our relationship broke down long ago. Stop clinging to me. In the years since Amy went off to college, Alicia and Amy had both abused and exploited me. I'd been insulted and had my money squeezed out of me, but now it's time to break free. I will never forgive you again. So, whatever you say now is pointless. Reflect on what you've done and live your miserable life.
Why, don't you love me? So, you're kidding, right?
Not kidding at all. I stopped loving you long ago. I stayed out of affection built over many years. But that's over now. Don't ever show up in front of me again. I should have prepared the divorce papers earlier if I knew it would come to this. In hindsight, that's what I thought. Alicia and Amy stood there, dumbfounded. With a sideways glance at Robert, who was still berating Amy, I decided to wrap up the meeting. Reluctantly, I found myself involved. My apologies for this mess. I will offer a more formal apology later. We will clean this up, so please don't worry about today's events. Afterward, I handed Alicia the divorce papers and sought alimony. Alicia protested a lot, but her excuses were absurd. With my lawyer as a mediator, we settled the divorce with terms highly favorable to me. Regarding the division of assets, I got almost everything. Because Alicia had been secretly spending our joint savings without telling me. Alicia resisted this too, but my attorney was very well versed in divorce cases. After being patiently explained to, she finally nodded. Meanwhile, Amy is reportedly in the middle of a nasty divorce dispute. Now, I've heard they're embroiled in a bitter divorce battle. There's a lot to discuss, from alimony to child support. Rumor has it that neither side will back down, so the lawyers overseeing the case are pulling their hair out. Divorce proceedings are costly. Alicia and Amy are apparently now living together, slowly paying off their debts. Nina is with them, but the environment is far from ideal. I genuinely hope they can handle things on their own. But if Nina is put in danger, I'll consider taking her in. For now, though, I'm enjoying my newfound freedom. Coming home to no lights isn't any different from before the divorce. Eating alone isn't any different either. The only difference is that no one's spending my money anymore or criticizing me for relaxing at home. Everything's taken a positive turn, and I'm satisfied. At work, they asked if I wanted to transfer to a different location. I used to refuse since I had my house, but now I think it's a good opportunity to go. Starting fresh in a new place with no strings attached is hugely appealing to me. After all, I'm only 52. I'll keep walking this new path in life.